Hello and welcome to another episode of Buyer Fireside Chat. I'm your host Meghla Bhardwaj, and today I've got with me an e-commerce supply chain expert, Terry Chan. Hi Terry, how are you doing today?
Hi, good morning. I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Terry. And today we're going to be talking about a really important topic, which is mega trends and strategies in the new retail era. That's so exciting because, of course, so many things are changing in the retail space, whether it's especially with e-commerce and
Mm,
especially after COVID, the whole landscape has kind of changed quite a
mm,
bit. So very interested to
mm,
find out your take on how retailers should adapt to this new situation.
mm.
So before we get started, Terry, can you introduce yourself? Tell our viewers what your background is and what do you do?
Well, thank you to have me here today, and I'm very exciting to looking forward to share my experience and also interact with the audience. Well, for me, I've been working in the e-commerce supply chain ecosystem for more than 20 years of time, and three phases basically. In the first phase of my career, I worked in those 3PL companies such as FedEx, DHL e-commerce, Swedish and Danish Post. And the second phase, I worked in Alibaba Group as a general manager 3PL. And I left Alibaba Group back to 2018. And then I start my own business. What basically we have been doing is a kind of e-commerce enabler. We support the brand, overseas brand, to develop their e-commerce business in the um, e-commerce markets such as mainland China, Hong Kong, and also Southeast Asia. We provide consultancy service to share with them the strategy, how to develop the e-commerce. We connect their products through omnichannel to those marketplace, social media, reseller channel. And lastly, we provide end-to-end supporting solution. And apart from that, we have a new arm of business to be a skincare and healthcare brand owner, e-retailer. And furthermore, I was be invited to be independent advisor, consultant for government-related organization, some commercial companies such as Estee Lauder, some international organizations such as Forbes Magazine, World Bank, so on and so forth. Well, I think it's a very brief introduction about myself, and I'm pleased to connect with all of you offline, through LinkedIn or whatever later on. Yeah.
Awesome. That is some very rich experience, Terry. So cool. Let's get started into talking about the first topic. And everybody watching, if you have any questions for Terry along the way, please feel free to type them in the comments. We will be addressing questions as we go along as well. So, Terry, given the whole changed landscape, what do you think retailers should do to rethink about what is really relevant to the end consumer in order to ensure quality and also timeliness?
Well, it is a very great question. I think it's a very big question as well. But before that, let me share with you a little bit about what is new retail era is about. Well, I think back to 4 to 5 years ago, Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba Group, he mentioned that the pure e-commerce would die. But what's come up now is the new retail era. So what is new retail era is about is the fusion of three components, online, offline, and logistic. And the main purpose of online is to draw the traffic, to draw the data. And the main purpose of offline is to develop different channel offline. And the main purpose of logistics is to support the online and offline business development. And that's why you can see logistics, or in broader term, supply chain, is getting more and more important right now. I will further elaborate later on. And the second thing is, beside the trend of globalization drive brand to focus on innovation and cooperation to optimize their omnichannel e-commerce strategy. And right now it is very rare to find a single player who can perform all the things along the supply chain. That's why we emphasize cooperation along the supply chain. And innovation is that, well, I think right now we have to really think backward or work backward. We have to really understand the needs of our consumer and then we work backward to develop our supply chain. And lastly, I think it's most important thing right now is when we look at the e-commerce supply chain is significantly impacted by the pandemic. And what I mean is with the e-commerce supply chain development is much further accelerated by in light of the pandemic. So go back to the question is what we think what is relevant to the end consumer, the end customer to ensure quality and timeless. Some key question and mega trend is that okay, uh, when we talk about new retail or e-commerce, in fact, it is a very, very, very big topic. Well, in a traditional e-commerce ecosystem, we have some essential building block. For example, we have a payment solution, whether it's a COD, whether it is a cash on the credit card or different kind of payment solution. And also we have logistics solution, whether it is a warehouse fulfillment or last mile, first mile delivery. And then we have category solution. That means how we sell our product locally or globally. And lastly, we have a different kind of seller solution. That is how the seller, say, pays the order, check their shipment. But these four essential building block is highly linked up by information technology. But ultimately, we have to fulfill the needs of our consumer. Let me give you a very typical example of to further illustrate this. Okay, um, say we have some research to study the rebuying behavior of the consumer versus the delivery time. Say we found that interestingly, if we send something from mainland China to Singapore, the Singaporean won't rebuy if the delivery time is longer than 5 days, something like that. So what we have to do is we have to work backward to ensure our logistics solution, our cross-border delivery solution is well less than 5 days. This is for Singapore. But for Indonesia, on top, we find that the Indonesian won't rebuy if the delivery time is longer than 12 days. But on top, the Indonesian is more favored to have a cash on delivery. That's why we have to work backward again to make sure our cross-border delivery solution, on one hand, is less than 12 days. On the second hand, is can support cash on delivery. That's why um, we have to work backward within the e-commerce supply chain ecosystem to ensure we can fulfill the needs of the consumer. Another thing would like to share is about in particular, in light of the pandemic, well, there are lots of research in the market to find that to investigate how the pandemic can affect the shopping behavior of our consumer. Well, in general, we found that the top three reasons, that is, the first is about the value. Say whether we can provide a better price or full promotion, or whether we can provide a better shipping or the delivery cost or value to the consumer. The second is about the availability, whether the products are in stock whenever the consumer would like to buy the product. The third is about the conveniency, say whether the consumer can get all the items they need from one space or whether it is easily accessible from their home, something like that. When we look at these three reason, they are highly linked up by the supply chain, by the logistic. That's why, as I said earlier, logistic or in broader terms, supply chain is getting more and more important right now when we develop the cross-border, in particular the supply chain solution, and also because of the ignite of the pandemic. So to conclude, when we need to develop the cross-border supply chain solution, we have to look from the ecosystem perspective. We have to work backward, and also we have to pay attention to um, how it affects the consumers when their buying behavior, something like that. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. So I guess one of the points that you've also raised,
Mm,
it really varies from one country and one geography to another. So you
yep.
can't have one strategy that is sort of that works for all geographies. you have to be very specific and understand the market really well because each geography is so different. As you mentioned, Indonesia and Singapore, have different delivery, times.
Mm.
So, how do you think companies are managing this diversity? Because, with cross border, companies are dealing with so many different countries, and, you have to cater to Indonesia and Singapore. It's not just limited to your local country. So, how do you think companies can do that efficiently?
Wow, it is a very good question. Well, I think that we can look at this from different angle, to be honest. And as I mentioned earlier, uh, right now it is very rare to find a single player who can perform all the duties along the supply chain. Say start from the first mile pickup, the line haul, no matter it is we are talking about the air freight or sea freight, and then the custom clearance, and then the last mile delivery. That's why um, we have to cooperate with our parties along the supply chain. So at first, we have to develop our supply chain ecosystem. That depends on which country you are going to target. And then, okay. And also, that related to another question is that, resource is very limited for, say, for a general company, unless you are a big giant such as Alibaba Group or Amazon, because they have abundant of resource. Basically, they can do everything they want. If we are not that big giant, and also resource is very limited, that's why it depends on your role. For example, if you are a brand owner, maybe you have to focus your resource to the consumer. That is consumerization. Say how you can um, more focus or how you can better understand the needs of your consumer through digital marketing or all sorts of things. But if you are a um, logistic company, maybe you are more focused on the last mile delivery, how to deliver, or warehousing fulfillment. If you are a channel partner, you may focus on how to develop different channel. So it really depends on your role. But no matter which role we are talking about, we find that the warehouse or the fulfillment is always in the middle, in the middle of no matter what role we are. That's why we may see that a lot of company um, they are developing, they are focused on their resource to develop the warehouse fulfillment. In particular, in the destination side, why they do so? Because they want to um, they want to build up this facility or capability as closer to the consumer as possible, so that they can shorten the delivery time. And also, um, I think right now the warehouse, the definition is a little bit blur. Is something like someone call is a extended delivery point. Um, get as closer as possible to your consumer, or even act as a pickup point. And that's why, as I said, cooperation is important along the supply chain. Second thing is you need to focus your resource, which depends on your role along the supply chain. Um, Thirdly, it's about technology. Well, that is very interesting because, well, when we think about technology, uh, the majority of people would think about, wow, maybe something like kind of destructive technology. Destructive means that we never seen before, or it shake the rule, shake the existing rule in particular. And something like blockchain, AI, or VR, I think that is good, but it's still quite far away, I can say. But when we look at the market, we can see a lot of kind of readily available technology, which we can make use of something like a cloud. Say we put everything on the cloud, no matter it is cloud accounting, cloud shipping, cloud warehousing, so that we try to eliminate as much as intermediate as possible to make it more reliable. Yeah, but for cloud, it won't cost you so much, but it is very reliable. And other question is that I believe every technology is good, but even better, they can work together to bring out the true value. Let me give you an example. For example, for data analytics, it's kind of matching the resource, matching different resource to optimize the utilization of resource. For um, for blockchain, it try to create a more secure environment For AI, we try to predict something. They are all good, but even better, they can work together to bring out the true value, bring out the synergy. And another thing is we need to put the right technology on the right business rule. Why I say that is that, okay, I remember many years ago when I was working in Alibaba Group, Lazada, and there's a very famous 3PL company reached out to me. He said, Terry, we can help you to significantly increase your operational efficiency and cut down the cost. And then I asked them a question in return. Hey, uh, which company should I use if I want to send something from China to Indonesia? But they cannot answer me. They just said, well, we based on your data, and then we analysis, and then we can give back you some advice, something like that. Well, that's you can see is that, well, their technology is good, but we have to choose the right technology to apply to the right business rule. That is called the innovation. And cooperation depend on your role to focus on your resource, and then use the right or appropriate technology on your right business rule together. um, that can really help us to streamline, to increase the operation efficiency. But lastly, one important thing is that if you ask me, to be honest, I don't have a perfect solution, to be honest. Why? Because the world is changing so rapidly, in particular the consumer behavior. If the consumer behavior change, we have to work backward again, to work backward. Remember the ecosystem I mentioned? That's why I think we have to really act first, and then we have to learn from experience. We have to review the KPI. We have a kind of control tower, review the KPI every day, and then we fine tune, fine tune, fine tune. And also, I think in particular in light of the pandemic, it is important to develop something more agile, more responsive. Because it is right now it is very hard to predict the consumer demand. It is hard to do so. Everyone want to do this, but it is very hard to do so. That's why to be agile, to be responsive is also very important.
Right. Those are some really good points. And I think, delivery times or, yeah, especially for e-commerce, delivery times are just so important nowadays. I think consumers are getting very impatient and they want their products to be delivered now because there's so many services that offer, quick and fast delivery. For example, here in India now, all groceries are available within, 20 minutes. They're at your doorstep. So
Mm,
there's Amazon, and there are other lot of big players over here as well that are
mm,
really focusing on quick and fast delivery. So I think there's a lot of pressure overall on the ecosystem for quick deliveries because regardless of the
mm,
country, I feel that a lot of consumers everywhere they want fast and quick delivery. So that's a really good point. So you touched upon technology in the
mm,
whole ecosystem, and yes, we understand that AI and all of those technologies they're sort of still at a level where we can't really implement them
mm,
in the day-to-day operations. But what sort of technologies
mm,
are being currently used in terms of either logistics or inventory management or any other type of area in the whole ecosystem? What types of technologies are being used and are emerging? I guess that's important for people to know as well.
Well, thank you for a very good question, Evan. I think technology is one of the very hot topic right now to apply to the supply chain. Well, yes, I think for those disruptive technology, blockchain, something like that, it is still far away. And what we see right now is only employed by those bigger company or global company. And then for those smaller company, we are watching to have any key successful case we can benchmark. And but we have to consider a lot of things, say how this technology can incurb into our existing technology or our system. Say, are there any extra costs, something like that, or whether reliability we have to concern about. Well, going back to the more down to earth question is, what kind of technology we see right now is more utilized is, well, I think data analytics is one of the more utilized technology we see right now. They serve two basic functions. The first is to make use of the data analytics to optimize the delivery routing. The delivery routing. Why? Because physically, you can imagine a vehicle. Um, they Yes, we can increase the operation efficiency of a vehicle to deliver the packages on the road or how many stop, but that is up to a maximum. That's why we have to make use of technology, say data analytics, to help to further increase the operation efficiency. And other use of data analytics is to predict the buying behavior of the consumer. Um, so that if we have a better prediction of the buying behavior of the consumer, we can send the goods, the kind of products, as closer to those consumer as possible, so that to decrease the delivery time. Yeah, and apart from that, I would like to highlight is that I think one of the key obstacle right now when we look along the supply chain is lack of end-to-end visibility. Um, because from the consumer's perspective, um, we would like to know, hey, once we buy the product, where are our products? Where are our packages? But most of the time, we lack of the end-to-end visibility. Well, I'm amazed because of this because, um, say if we API, if we connect all our partner along the supply chain, in theory, that is have a better end-to-end visibility. But in reality, it's different cases. Even we API, even we connect all our party along the supply chain, we still find that we lack of end-to-end visibility. I don't know why, maybe technology reason. That's why we have to have some backup plan to ensure, okay, once if the technology fell short of our expectation, we have another way, maybe manual way to provide the data. Why is data is important right now in the e-commerce industry is that we need the data to create the KPI, to create the insight for the consumer, and also to create the insight for the merchant. Okay, say I'll give you an example. The industry is if we buy something online, basically we know the expected delivery time from the merchant, from the marketplace. Okay. If they fell short of this delivery time, the marketplace of the merchant, they have to incur penalty to the consumer. So how they do this is they based on the data extracted from the supply chain. That's why data or visibility is very important right now. Okay. Well, go back to the question is okay, apart from those destructive technology, maybe too far away till now, uh, some really available technology or other way we can deploy, for example, cloud, as I mentioned earlier. And another thing we can do is, okay, within a single company, even though within a single company we have different system, so accounting, warehousing or whatever, or shipping. So we have to make sure we link all these systems within a single company first, and then along the supply chain, we have to connect with other partner along the supply chain. Another thing we can consider is how to embrace omnichannel development. That means, okay, along the supply chain, we may have different systems or different application or what we call cross technology deployments. So, but most of the time, this cross technology, they did not talk to each other. They did not connect with each other. That's why one thing we have to do is we have to connect different technology application. We connect them together to increase the data visibility. And AI routing, as I mentioned earlier, and that is make use of some AI function with the data analytics to predict the routing that I mentioned earlier. And another thing we can consider is about the custom clearance. Well, I think even up to now, but I think right now it's getting a little bit better. When we look back 4 to 5 years ago, say when we send something from Hong Kong and China to Southeast Asia, um, it's not that efficient because a lot of custom clearance is done by manually. But I think right now it's much better. So I think from the government's perspective, they have to make sure how to make use of technology, what so-called digitalize the custom clearance. Say, that's why we can see some government authority, they start to develop kind of e-platform to make sure all the data are input on this platform to streamline the custom clearance process. And also, another thing we can consider is to develop a strategic global supply chain ecosystem. Depends on which country you are targeting. And say for Singapore, we develop the unique supply chain ecosystem. Maybe some excel at metro area, some excel in remote area, or in Indonesia, some is excel in Java, East Java or West Java. And then we develop the ecosystem together. And warehousing is something we need to consider. We have to automate our warehousing. Automation, um, yeah, I think as a whole, apart from what I mentioned earlier, and it really depends, and also it depends on the overall strategy. For example, I'll give you an example. Previously, I have a customer. They are based in Australia, but they have manufacturing plant in China, and Hong Kong. They have kind of regional hub office. Um, they have a 3-year forecasting plan. Year one, year two, year three. They target some country in Southeast Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam. So the question come up is, oh, okay, their company is in Australia. Their manufacturing plant is in mainland China. So, but they need to ship their product to Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam. So we have to consider, hey, whether we send the product directly, say from China or through Hong Kong, individually to this Southeast Asia market, or we set up a regional hub in Southeast Asia, say in Singapore or in Indonesia, and then intra Southeast Asia markets. It is very complicated. That's why when we develop the supply chain, cross-border supply chain solution, um, we have to consider, okay, a couple of things. For example, our strategy, where our customer is situated, and also what are our forecasting plan, and also our capability, and also what kind of technology we are really available to use, and also which partner in specific country we can cooperate. So as I said, no perfect solution is we act first and then we will on a daily basis and then we will fine tune and then make sure we increase, improve the overall operational efficiency. Yeah.
Yeah, that's some great advice there. Thank you so much. So, Chester is joining us from Texas. Hi, Chester. How are you? Let us know if you have any questions. And everybody watching, let us know if you have any questions for Terry. He's got a lot of experience in retail and supply chain. So, if you have any questions about that, let us know. So, Terry, I mean, one of the
Mm,
things that you kind of touched upon is inventory management and
mm,
predicting overall demand for the product. And this is something that I find a lot of the especially smaller and mid-sized e-tailers really struggle with inventory management. So, what tips and advice do you have for small, mid-sized companies to manage their inventory management and also to predict, sort of estimate their demand for the product?
wow, it is very good and a challenging question to be honest. And then okay, well, um, okay, we can look at this from different angle to be honest. Okay, but at first, let me share you with an example. Is okay. I think we heard about a lot of job shifting, something like that. Yeah, I think there's rumor. I can say is rumors that okay, job shipping is a perfect solution for everything. Well, I think it depends on what how you look at it. Okay, okay. Well, um, there's some conditioning to fulfill for job shipping. For example, whether your the vendor is a trustworthy, something like that. And also you have to compare the cost of the drop shipping to whether you have a bulk shipment to stay to store in a warehouse, something like that. But what I think is okay, before we decide the inventory strategy, I think uh, again, I would suggest to work backward again. We start from the consumer's perspective. Okay, um, it depends on the stage of your business. For example, when we are just start our business, um, when we start our business, when we start to sell a new product, uh, in theory, we don't exactly know whether the product is a hero product. We don't exactly know how many we can sell, to be honest. That's why I think at this stage, it is not recommended um, to store a large quantity of product first. Because when we store the product, it incur the storage cost. But if you are even if you are selling food product, they have the expiry date. They have the expiry date that incur a very big pressure for you. That's what I would suggest is at the early stage to sell a new product. Uh, we heard about the MVP, minimal viable product. That is, we we develop a product as fast as possible, and then we test the market. Say maybe you can import say maybe 100 or 200 or 300 that smaller quantity of product first, and then you test the market to see whether you after you test the market you would understand, hey, whether our product is a hero product, say how many product we can sell on a daily basis or weekly basis or monthly basis. Once you got the data and then you start to think about, hey, um, how many product in bulk we need to buy in order to sell our products. Yeah, and um, for bulk, uh, in particular for sea freight, in theory is much cheaper compared to air freight. Um, but again, there's no definite answer. It depends on the when you sell. For example, during the festival, during the peak season, maybe you need to use even courier service or air freight service to import your products. Yeah, but as long as you can, you calculate as long as you have margin, I think it's fine to do so. Um, go back to the question: is that the drop shipment model? You have to compare whether okay for this shipment, because for drop shipment basically it make use of courier or air freight to do so. The transportation charge is much higher. That's why if you calculate the overall cost is competitive, I think you can do so. And another thing is need to have a good relationship with your vendors. And I think in particular in light of the pandemic, um, that incur a lot of pressure along the supply chain. In particular, the raw material. Maybe your vendor also suffer a lot of pressure for the supply chain of the raw material. May have the delay to produce the products. That's why it would suggest to have multi-vendor management, to have some vendor not focus on just a single vendor, to make sure, in particular during the peak season, during the festival. What I mean is something start from September onwards until December, and because in those peak season, you never know. Maybe you have a sudden volume surge. That's why you can't really rely on a one single vendors. That's why you have to expand to different vendors. That's why uh, when we look at this problem or issue, we have to do several things. Not only for your vendor, we have to think about the mode of transportation. We have to think about our products, whether in which stage of your company, something like that. As a whole, we have to consider a lot of things together.
Right. So Liz is saying this
Mm,
is very
mm,
nice and useful event, but there's not so many people. Google finds this. Okay. So another question is that, what do you think are some
Mm,
ways that these smaller companies can compete with big marketplaces? So we've got so many, big marketplaces like Amazon and
mm.
Walmart taking market share, but a lot of the entrepreneurs, they have maybe their own website selling their own brands, or maybe they have Shopify stores. What advice do you have for smaller entrepreneurs in order to be competitive with these bigger marketplaces?
Wow, I think it is a very hot question as well. I heard about this along many several times. Well, again, we can look at this from different angle. Okay, I think there are always two sides of the coin. Okay, because I'm from Alibaba Group, Lazada. Okay, um,
Terry, you keep
for
talking. I'm just going to turn off my camera for a second. You keep talking, okay?
okay, yeah, I think there are two sides of the coin. Okay, I think um, let me respond to this question from a brand owner's perspective. Brand owner, I think in particular for brand, um, it is advised to have omni-channel. Let me further explain to that. Okay, well, um, for those large regional marketplace such as Amazon or Alibaba or Lazada, um, I think one of the biggest advantage for brand owner is they already have a very big traffic, and but the drawback is that lot for brand royalty, lot for brand royalty, because from the market space perspective, what we concern is the traffic, but not how to help you to build the brand. But you can do so only if the brand pay for the advertising or whatever to the marketplace, and then the marketplace would help you to build your brand. This point number one. Uh, Also, on the marketplace, there are lots of similar products. That's why most of the time we fall into the pricing war. We have to lower our price in order to attract more business. That can, in some certain extent, what's so-called brand dilution. Brand dilution. The first thing is about, from the brand perspective, we in no way we lost customer ownership because we cannot directly contact with our customer. Yes, you can, unless again you need to pay something to the marketplace to buy the data. Yeah, but there are also some good thing. For example, yeah, it saves time for you to develop everything. Remember what I said earlier about the ecosystem, the payment, the logistic, the category solution, the seller solution. Basically, for all these marketplace, they already equipped with all these essential building blocks. That's why you don't have to build up everything by yourself. That's it save time, you save your less investment, and also some brand make use of the marketplace to do kind of market testing. In particular, you have new product, and then you put on those large marketplace, and then you test the water, you test the market. Yeah. So the question is whether you should go or not. And I would say if budget is available, I think you should go. You should go. You draw the traffic, and then you brand the bill awareness, and then you test the market, and then you try some way to bring the traffic from there to your own a fresh flagship store or website. Um, Also, we heard about a lot of omnichannel. Yeah, omnichannel. Why omnichannel? Because even if you build your own website, I can tell you, um, um, a lot of people think that, oh, I built my own website and then we have a lot of organic traffic. No, it's not totally wrong, because I think right now the competition is very keen, and also it is more harder and harder to get organic traffic. That's why even you build your own website, you have to um, invest a lot to do a lot of marketing. You draw the traffic from those social media, something like that, on Facebook or Google or Instagram or YouTube, something like that. And also,
Yeah, that's a
omnichannel is
yeah.
important. Is that I think in some country, for example, in particular in Southeast Asia, they have a lot of local, smaller reseller channel social media. Say for Southeast Asia, according to some research, is that the GMV contribution from even from Lazada or Shopee only contribute around 50% of the market share. That's why the remaining 50%, 50%, are from local, smaller marketplace, local reseller channel, local social media. That's why, apart from those regional last marketplace, you have to focus on to develop or cooperate with smaller local player as well, and also on top to build up your own flagship store or website. Um, but the question is, okay, well, how I can prioritize our resource to do that? Well, I think again is um, you know for a smaller or medium brand owner, resource is very limited. Maybe you can start from one channel first, and that, but not too many channels in the first beginning. Start from one channel, and then you develop this, and then once the result is promising, and then you can start to develop another two, three, four channel as a whole. And but again, at first, um, draw the data analysis, and then fine tune your strategy on and on. And then that is, I think, that is the way to do so.
All right, that is great advice. So let's also
Mm,
talk about last mile delivery. And there's
mm,
been quite a lot of sort of innovation happening for quite some time, but we haven't seen any right like concrete, steps being taken to really improve last mile delivery. I
mm,
mean, Amazon has been talking about drone deliveries, and there's also some, like robots that are going and doing deliveries, and there are a lot of tests happening in terms of last mile delivery innovations. But what are you seeing in terms of last mile delivery and the technologies that are being used? And what will it really take to, to have some innovation in last mile delivery?
mm. Well, I think you're right, absolutely right, because I think it's not a new thing, the drone or something like that. But when we look at the market, I think we can't see the mass utilization or adoption of this kind of technology. That's why some people say maybe it's for solely for marketing purpose from those large companies. Say, okay, wow, to let the people know, oh, we already have this kind of technology, and then to increase the brand. You know what? Right now we talk about the ESG, something like that. I think that is something help them to brand to build the ESG awareness. Well, well, I think what I think is um, um, I think as a whole, the develop of the supply chain, in particular last mile, cannot really catch up. I can, to be honest, cannot really catch up with the rapid development of the e-commerce. We cannot catch up right now, even up to now. And in particular, if you I think in the past we are talking about 3 to 4 days delivery is fine. Something like right now is same day delivery. If you are doing F&B, we are talking about time definite delivery. Time definite. This is that make it even more and more difficult to fulfill. And I think to sum up, um, there are no perfect solution right now. Um, I think there's three reasons behind. The first is about the inefficient, ineffective infrastructure right now along the supply chain. In particular, the last mile delivery. The second thing is about the IT technology. It's not that advanced, I can say, and in particular, they are not really linked up together with one another. The fact is about the expectation of the consumer is getting higher and higher. Okay, I believe there are a couple of ways we can do is we can better manage the expectation of consumer on one hand. Yeah, I think maybe we can have some selection. For example, um, maybe 1 day delivery with a higher cost. We charge higher for the consumer. Maybe 2 to 3 days, we offer cheaper option for the consumer so that they can choose. The second thing is we can offer another pickup solution. The pickup solution, we can offer a much maybe further discount if the consumer are okay to pick up the packages by themselves. And maybe another solution we can deploy together. And mm, on the other hand, it is important to build up a much efficient cooperation ecosystem. For example, the lockers, the extended delivery point, the last mile delivery. I think we need to work together as a whole to offer better solution. But again, to sum up is there's no single solution is perfect. We will work together, and um, to offer a better option, better maybe not perfect solution, but a better option for the consumer.
Right,
Mm,
that totally makes sense. So a lot of
mm.
work still to be done, I think, in this
Yeah,
whole
exactly.
ecosystem in the industry. So it's very evolving and should really keep an eye on what's coming in the next few years. It's definitely a very exciting and dynamic industry.
Mm.
So thank you so much for your time today, Terry. And how can people contact you if they want to get in touch with you and learn more about your services?
Uh, there are a couple of ways, and then you can catch me up in LinkedIn, or I leave my contact here, or what?
Yeah, definitely. Let me know your contact and then we will display it on the screen. So, do you want to share your email address or what would you like to share?
Yeah, it is my email address.
Okay, email address. So, I'm just going to get your email address. I think I have your email address here. So, let me just get that and then. Or do you want to put your email address here? Let me know which email address you want to. Okay, there it is. We got it
Yeah,
here.
this one is fine. This one is fine. Yeah,
Okay.
Yahoo.
All right. Here we go.
Mm.
So I'm just going to display this email address, ckft@yahoo.com. That's fairly easy to remember. So if anybody's interested in reaching out to Terry to learn more about how his company can help you, or just to have a chat about what's happening in the e-commerce supply chain, go ahead and reach out to him. So Terry, thank you so much for your time today. It was really wonderful, and I'm sure our audience gained a lot of good insights. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. And then again, I think e-commerce supply chain is a very big topic, and because of time, I cannot cover all the things. But I'm pleased to catch up with all of you, ladies and gentlemen, offline through my contact, and then we can further interact. Yeah,
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this live session, this Buyer Fireside Chat session. And this is Megla Bhardwaj signing off from Global Sources. Bye bye.